All right. Well, I'm going to have you start over just a little bit because we were chatting a little bit
Yeah.
before. You're giving me some background about what you did before and where you are now and all of the good things. So if you just take me back a little bit and tell me a little bit about your background and what you're trying to create.
Yeah. So my name is Irene, and I am a PT. I've been practicing for 20 years almost, and I had a consultation business slash I specialize in chronic pain. So I did mostly cash-based practice in St. Louis. And then I decided to move out to Washington State. And when I came out here, I was just kind of thinking about getting some capital to build my own practice. But then I met up with a clinic that is owned by a woman by the name of Sarah Nelson, and she's amazing. And she wanted me to help develop an entire, essentially, wellness slash cash-based practice for her clinic. And so I couldn't pass that opportunity up, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I get to develop my own programs with the backing of a clinic, and then also help them develop their programs, which is really where I think I need some coaching on, because I can kind of develop things on my own. Mostly I just make my own mistakes, but then there's this other level now where I'm responsible for helping people develop their own programs and move on from there. So, and we really want to emphasize wellness, since a lot of us have specialty areas, either in functional fitness or pelvic health or women's health. And so it's a really exciting time, but it's also a lot of responsibility. And when I got this chance to talk to you, I was like, ooh, I will take that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, cool. I think I call it playing with house money. So when we're entrepreneurs, like you were talking about, the making mistakes on our own and it's all of our own risk. But if you have that backing of somebody else, then you get to be what I call an intrapreneur. So you are developing all of these programs, but it doesn't quite have the risk. You have more support and all these other things. So tell me a little bit about what do you all already have in place in terms of wellness, and what are you envisioning creating, and where do you feel
right.
you're stuck?
Well, so I joined the team about a year ago. So our clinic is called Therapy Solutions, and they had very little as far as wellness. So they mostly are insurance-based practice, and they specialize in lymphedema care and manual therapy and orthopedics as well. But they also do pelvic health. So it's kind of it's a niche practice in a lot of ways for our small community. We're part of a group that's 3 cities, and it's about 300,000 people total. So, so it's not huge of an area, but they've been doing that. But wellness was something that they've always, Sarah at least, has been thinking about for a long time. Since then, we've started doing donation-based classes just to kind of start experimenting. So Sarah is a certified yoga therapeutics instructor, therapeutic yoga instructor. And so she's been doing classes. I do classes on sleep and wellness using neuroscience. And another one of the other therapists, she does functional fitness, and her focus is postpartum and prenatal care. And so she does consulting classes. And we've been just reaching out to the community, finding people to collaborate with, and doing classes with different wellness centers, doctors, and I do a lot of the marketing. So now we're part of a group of other healthcare professionals just trying to collaborate. Now, have we made any money? I would say very little. So this is kind of where I want on is so have our programs set up in our heads in a lot of ways. But we're not getting, how do we translate that into revenue?
The program itself. Yeah. So
yeah.
what's
right. So a lot of times we're doing group class.
No, go ahead. I want to hear that.
Oh, sorry, you broke up.
So what's happening when you are trying to, what's happening in the sales process?
Well, so I think my thought process or if we do donation basis to get our names out there as far as our specialty for specialty care, right? So maybe one-on-one coaching and client work, or, you know, our paid for classes. Now, I've done this with one of my donation-based classes, because one of the things that we really like to focus on is the fact that we can give back to the community, right? So one of the things that I do is I lead a community support group for women, and then these women get to do basically neuroscience-based exercises to help them overcome either trauma or any barriers that they might have in their life. So we took this donation-based class, and that's always just based on whatever they feel like they can offer to give during that time. And we only hold it once a month. And then I think 3 months in, I did a retreat and we sold out. So that worked. So that's one of the things that I feel like, you know, I would love to offer things that are for the community, that is for everyone. But then I would want some carryover where people want to invest money and people want to come and dive deeper into whatever we're teaching, but that's actually something that would give us revenue. So, so that's one experiment that kind of worked, but there's a lot of different things that I'm just not sure about, like how do we get more one-on-one visits? Like if we want people to go to a class, and then I think most of our revenue could come from one-on-one visits and client care in that way. I'm not sure how to translate that, right? So I had success with another, like with a retreat or another paid group class, but from there, it's really hard to get people to invest in one-on-one care.
So what's happening after the class? They have an amazing class or an amazing retreat, and at the end, then what happens?
Right. So we have a Facebook group that we would love people to engage with, and that's really hard to keep going. It's exhausting, but like we're not putting, I think not yet. We're not sure how to put up content there to start engaging people more. That could be a good way to keep people in the loop, but I haven't really done much in terms of.
Pause. I know y'all have the Facebook group, but like what's happening when you have the people right in front of you that are like, this is amazing? Or do you say, oh,
yeah,
just
I think
Facebook group, or are you offering them to work with you one-on-one to continue with?
Yep.
Okay. So,
yeah, so we'll say you could come and visit us in the office, and we have this amazing program that we could tailor it to you. And I can't tell if it's because I think that they're all interested in the content, right? Like they're having a good experience, but I don't know if it might be my sales, and that's why I could be corrected on, because basically if they come for the class, they are getting some content already. So in my mind, I wonder if they're thinking, well, I'm getting it for free anyways, why would I do the one-on-one? So I think I'm not creating the right hook or the right sales. I don't know. I'm not sure. So I basically am like, you can work with us and this is our rate, and we'd love to be able to tailor this to you. So that's kind of what I say.
Yes. So I think there's several points in there where things could be breaking down. So part of it might be how you're structuring the workshop, where a person feels so full, they're like you said, I got it for free. Why do I need to do anything else? There might be how you're shifting into sales at that part. And you're like, I would really love to see a video of like what's actually happening, what's being said. But that's one area where you can look at like, okay, when it comes time to shift from I'm giving you content to giving sales. And sometimes people fall off on that part, especially if you haven't seeded the sales throughout. Like sometimes people will content and not like mentally prepare people for the fact that there will be an offer at the end. So then the energy gets a little weird and a little funny, like, okay, it's, $250, there you go. And then you run away. So a couple you can do, right? Or then it's like people either look at you weird or they don't bite. And then you're like, okay, well, join our Facebook group. And so there are a couple of things do one, to seed it throughout the presentation, because I do believe in just give everything that you can, so do that, seed it, let them know that there will be an offer. You want to talk about throughout, like how to carry this work further and deeper. And like I'm giving you a lot, but a lot of people are going to want to have support, because some of you all know you won't go to the gym unless you have a workout buddy kind of thing, so that they understand that, yes, I gave you stuff, but it's one thing to have information, another have the implementation. The other thing to always look at is your energy when it gets to the sales part. And do you just kind of like hot potato, throw it at them and kind of back up? Also, one of the things that you can do is to sometimes, especially in the beginning, when you're trying to figure out, okay, is it me falling down in the sales, or what is it that I'm saying, or what are their objections that I may not have addressed? I just said what the price was, and they say, okay, I'll take the flyer, and then they leave and they never come back. Is to possibly, at least in the beginning, instead of putting the price out there, say, hey, if this is speaking to you and you feel like you need some more help or some support, or you want to figure out how this might be better tailored to you or fit in your lifestyle, let's have a conversation about that. And then you have a consult with them. You instead of offering to work with them one-on-one long-term, then offer to schedule a consultation right then while they're thinking about it. And
I think that actually that resonates with me quite a bit, because I am really skittish about, even though I believe in the content, and I'm really pretty good at making sure that I don't give everything away, right? Like, it's like, I know what content to give and what content to do more one-on-one. I am not a good salesperson, I think, just hearing from what you're saying, because I'm really aware of the energy in the room, and I don't like people ever feeling uncomfortable when it comes to money. So I do exactly what you're saying, the hot potato method, where I'm like, and this is what you can do, and I think it's the idea of planting a seed and then maybe doing more of a one-on-one consult that I could do maybe even over the phone, and then giving them an option from there is better than me standing in front of a group just saying, this is what we have to offer. And that feels less sales pitchy, because I don't want to sound like a salesperson, but in some ways you have to be a salesperson to sell. So I think I have to change my attitude and my approach with that. So uh-oh, did we freeze?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
I ended up having to do the phone after all. So
it's okay.
Hold on, sorry, seeing all of my okay, we're back, sort of. So the last thing I heard you say was just kind of have to change my mindset on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so then my question to you would be, like, tell me a little bit, what do you think about when you think about sales, and when you say you don't want it to be about the money? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I think it's about changing people's lives and helping them move forward, right? So like, if I wanted to, so sales to me means that I want to provide content that this person can use to make a difference in their life. Like, if I had to boil it down, like the way that I would like to approach it. So I'm able to give them something that's more customized. And that's kind of how I think about it, right? So if I can get deeper into their lives by doing a one-on-one, that's what I prefer. So that's kind of how I think about it. But I I don't always know how to price that as a value, right? Because I'm diving from having a program that's just clinic based into, and even during my consultation business, almost everyone just came to me referral based. I never had to sell anything. So I think
Okay.
I'm really like a newbie when it comes to sales. I think about the content. I think about making the content good. I think about having them having a good experience. And then sales, it's kind of like I've never really had to do it, so I don't really know how.
But is that true? Is that true that you never had to do sales?
I don't know. Well, I mean,
So
I'm not
even when
sure.
the people come to you, even when they were referred to you,
Mhm.
didn't they have questions? Didn't
Mhm. Yeah.
they, before they whipped out their card or sent,
Yeah.
paid the invoice?
Yeah.
So you were selling them on it. Even
That's
though they were
true.
referred to you, you still had to sell them.
That's true. Yeah. And actually it felt very natural because I would just tell them about me and my program and why like other people have used it in the past. And that was it. And then they'd be like, oh, that sounds pretty good. And it felt pretty natural. So yeah. Oh,
Same
is
thing.
that sales?
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what sales is.
Okay. Okay.
Same thing.
I could do that.
Yeah. Awesome. Now go make some money.
Well, so then I think I also have a question about how do you translate wellness, right, from what we do as physical therapists. So we have all of our specialty practices like pelvic health and functional fitness and then pain, chronic pain
Mhm.
treatments. So we already do that. And some of it is considered PT treatment. But a lot of it, I also consider we go above and beyond the typical PT treatment. So it's like I want to offer wellness and wellness component to what we do already as specialists, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I just want to translate things over. I don't know if other people struggle with that, but it's kind of like I understand that wellness is people that don't have a diagnosis coming to you, right? And
Mhm.
they're just anyone can come. So,
Mhm.
so yeah, so how do you create a very good distinction between that besides just having people with diagnosis? Do you try to like really think about your content differently than how you would treat someone in the office?
So I'm going to send you the conversation that we had with an attorney about
Mm,
that,
okay.
especially because we have our license involved. But she, as far as my interpretation of what she said, was very clear. Like, wellness is wellness, PT is PT, keep them separate. So if
Okay.
somebody's in the office for some specific diagnosis and they're working with you, complete that, and then have
And
them
then
come back
start.
in,
Okay.
onboard them with the wellness client paperwork and the disclaimers and stuff like that, so that they're clear that what they're getting is wellness.
Okay.
And so you can keep everything pretty clean. But I
Okay.
do understand what you're saying when you want to do a holistic approach and you can do all the things and you're in a private setting, you want to do all the things. It's just a little messy right now. And so the recommendation was just keep it clean. These are the wellness people, these are the physical therapy people. That also may help with the question that I remember reading about you, where people want to just use their insurance for
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what's happening in that scenario.
Yeah. So with our patients, I think we have pretty good loyalty from our patients. So even after they're done with their treatment, some of them just never want to be done. That's pretty much the problem. So if their
Uh-huh.
insurance will pay for it, they'll just keep coming to us. And a lot of what we do is kind of like a team approach already, which people really like. So we have massage therapists on staff, we have an acupuncturist, and we also have a counselor. So we give this kind of whole, I don't know, like a experience to people already. And when I was looking at what we were doing, I was like, I think we're giving way too much away for someone who's paying insurance, right? Like I just felt like
Mm-hmm.
that's like there's some parts of this that we could break down. For example, our massage therapists, most of them don't take insurance and they're booked all the time because essentially what after they're done with PT, they'll just continue on with massage and they love it. And then I was like, wait a second, what if we continue to do exactly what they were doing with our own patients? And so that's kind of the model that I would like to just experiment with. And I've been observing. So I've been in the clinic for just a year, and I've been kind of seeing the dynamics, and maybe it's the environment, like the town. We're in the Pacific Northwest, so you think that people would be more open-minded, but a lot of people are just like, oh no, you're my PT and I just had treatment from you, so why would I get wellness from you? I'm going to go and pay $45 to see a personal trainer that, in my mind, I'm like, I know that person is probably not going to train you well, because they don't necessarily know what I know about you, right? So then I keep thinking, is there a way to translate some of these people that have been our patients into wellness patients? And I really like how you're saying keep it separate, but in their minds, it's not separate. They're just like, oh, well, this was PT, and now why would I just pay you for PT? So that's what I'm running into.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple of things that you could think about with regard to that. One might be 100% cash practice. So then it doesn't matter. Then the other might be separating out like who is doing the PT stuff and who is doing the wellness stuff. So they can visually separate in their mind. Like Irene is my wellness person, because they see a separate person as a massage therapist, right? But if Irene wants to put on the PT hat and the wellness hat, they can't separate that in their mind. So a couple of things that automatically makes me think, okay, either Irene is the wellness person and whoever else is the pelvic PT, or everybody's doing cash. Then we're not, it doesn't matter. We treat your problems. We take you wherever you are. And this is just how we do things here. The other thing that might provide a bit of separation in their mind is, to your point about the programs. So I think sometimes what is happening with us is that we're focusing on PT, or we're focusing on wellness, as opposed to focusing on solving problems. Right. And so if you have a comprehensive program that will solve a specific problem for your people, then they're like, okay, I paid you for this program, versus, well, you were my PT, so just keep doing PT with me and I'll keep sending you my insurance. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Like, so what you're saying makes sense, because if I've been experimenting with just doing a sleep program, right? So people that want to learn how to sleep, we've done a few classes where they learn it from, kind of a exercise, neuroscience, and then a more holistic kind of nutrition-based sleep habits. Like, those are the components of the program, and people respond really well to that, and they don't treat me like a PT. So I think that makes sense to me, what you're saying.
Yeah, because I mean, sleep and PT, that just doesn't even, that it's no, in their mind, they have no frame of reference for the two being the same.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that you can do. What else you got? You said something about pricing, I think that was one question.
So pricing, I am, I've been listening to like a lot of different entrepreneur, learning how, as I go. I think I have this problem with setting a monetary value to what I create as content. Like, they're worth. I just don't even know the thought process behind it. I just kind of go by whatever everyone else is charging, right? And right now I don't even have to worry that much. Like, when I was doing my consultation, I was just like, oh yeah, this sounds kind of good. And people are like, that's a steal. And then I'd be like, well, okay, maybe I set it too low. And so I would just do an intro rate and then up it. And that's kind of how I learned. But I don't really know how to set prices. So then I think also that relates to how I sell, right? Because I'm like, I think this is a good price for it, but I didn't choose that price, like, because I came up with, I kind of picked these numbers because they're like generally, that's what other people charge. But I would like to know if there's a process that you think, okay, how do you translate the value of your content into a monetary value?
Yeah.
You know, like what is that process?
So different people have different theories, and I automatically throw out what other people are charging, period.
Yes. Yeah. That doesn't
Because
work.
right, because if you're going based out, it's just like even your energy when you were talking to me, you're like, I don't know. And so when you're like that and you come
Right.
across like that in the sales, then the person's like, I don't know if I want to give you my credit card.
Exactly.
So a couple of things that you can do, especially if it's something new to you, I think introductory prices are a great way to start. I always say, if you can't say it, you can't sell it. So if you don't feel comfortable and confident in saying the price, it's going to be very difficult for you to come across as comfortable and confident when you're talking to them. And then that's going to be a problem when they try, like I said, they don't know because you don't know about that. So that's one thing. And also knowing that as you get more results for people, that you can increase it, right? So some people get all hung up on what's the best or the right price. Like the right price or the best price is the one that you can say with confidence. The other thing to think about is what is, and that's why I go back to what is the problem you're solving? What is the transformation that they will be getting? Right. And so give me an example of one of the transformations that your people will be getting by working with you.
From our programs? Okay. So, so I do a program that is more, brain based. So, so it's neuroscience based and it's for people with pain. So, if you come in and you've had, addiction to opioids, if you've had any kind of chronic illness, then, and you've tried a lot of different methods, my program would actually be able to get you from being addicted to opioids and start like kind of walking you through, not just like a rehabilitation program for that, but it's using a blend of manual therapy, brain exercises, and coaching.
Yeah.
So,
so tell me, what kind of problems are the people having right now when they come to you? They're addicted to opioids. Obviously, they're in pain. What other things are happening in their lives as a result of being addicted to these opioids? And how much do they cost per month? Let's just start there. How much do they cost on average per month?
Like the
prescriptions.
The loss of weight or the prescriptions. I mean, you know,
you can.
Well, the thing is, it's crazy because like a lot of them don't pay very much for it because insurance pays for it, but they're probably spending about, you know, $100 to $150.
Okay, so there's $150 a month. Then you said something about lost wages.
So a lot of them aren't working. So that's probably what, like 3,000 to 4,000, depending on what they do.
Yeah. So let's say at least 3,100, 3,100. Okay. And what else is showing up in their lives when they come to you because of this addiction and the pain?
Right. So their relationships are affected. They can't travel very much. I mean, it's like they're not doing anything that they actually want to do. Right. So
so if their relationships are affected, then they might get a divorce. And how much does a divorce cost?
Right. Like a lot of money.
A lot of money, right?
So 5,000, 10,000. Right. Yeah.
Right. So people think you can't assign a dollar value to chronic pain or getting out of that, but you can. Right. So those are what I would spend some time doing is when this person comes to me, you know them very well, you know the problems that they have, the socioeconomic impact of them being addicted to the opioids and being in pain, because then there may be an obesity component, and then that might mean they have diabetes where they have glucophage or insulin that they're having to take, and there's a cost associated with that too, right? So write down all of the things that is a problem in their lives, things that are going on for them when they come to you, and see, can you put a dollar amount to it? I bet you if you thought hard enough, you could. And so when you add all of that up, what does that cost? Right now we said 5,000 for a divorce. I mean, this is extreme, but 5,000 for a divorce, 3,000 a month in there, and 150 for the actual pharmaceuticals, right? So all of those things. And right now we're already at, just for let's say 1 month, if they got divorced next month, that's $8,150. So how much were you thinking about charging for that?
Well, for like the whole program or just like a
Mhm.
one-on-one session? Oh,
One,
goodness.
oh, before you should always do a program.
And not just a session.
No, because how are you gonna help somebody in one session? Like
That's
really?
true. That's true. Yeah. So I don't know. For a program that can change that entire thing, I would have it be definitely over $1,000, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I don't know how long that would take, right? So it's like, I mean, like for me, like when I was doing my consultation business, so this is different because I never think about anything in a program form. So it is a challenge. In my consultation, I just treat them, and it was just cash-based PT essentially, right? So I just treat them and treat them and treat them. And then when they were like, okay, I'm feeling better. And it did take about 6 months for people to really make changes. So 6 months.
That's true. That's what I find in my practice too. So
Mhm.
6 months. At how many visits were you doing
So with
a month?
my brain-based stuff, like I would see them, like, so this is just what I did for my consultation business. I would see them one time a week in office. And then usually at the beginning, it would be kind of stacked more. So then, and another time where I was just doing kind of more a phone consultation, right?
Mhm.
So I just follow up like a video conference. And then at the beginning, it was probably once a week in office and maybe touching base via phone. And then it started dropping off by like the third month. So, I
Mhm.
mean, it's pretty intense. It's probably at least like 20 times that I'm seeing them,
Right.
if
So
not
you
more.
do know the
So,
answer. You know about how many times, you know about how much the length of time
mm,
it takes to provide that
right,
transformation. So that's how you structure it in terms of the features of it. 6 months, about these many visits, because you've done this work before. So then you
yeah,
take the value. You're going to do the exercise where you write down how it's affecting them, all of the areas, right?
you're
And
right.
those are the benefits that you talk to. You never really talk about we're gonna get together for 6 months, and it's gonna be 2 times a week for the first 3 months, and it's gonna go one time a week for the next month, and then, like,
Mhm.
nobody cares. Can you help me? How long is it gonna take? 6 months intense. You and I, we're going to get off of these opioids. You're going to be able to sleep better. You're going to be able to travel again.
Mhm.
You are going to have better relationships because you're not doing whatever the thing they were doing, right? You're going to stop having to
Mhm.
take, like all of these things, the benefits of it, which you're already going to write down because, and you'll have a dollar amount with those, and it'll force you to think of how is this problem affecting them. So you speak to those problems that they're having, and how
Okay.
your program that's, if we're already at 8,000 in costs, we didn't even add up all the things, and it's just going to be 1,200 or 1,500 or whatever you decide, right?
Right. Right. No, that's really
That
helpful.
really seems like a steal to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And you
Actually,
can decide.
the
Yeah.
way that you're putting it, like that actually doesn't feel like a sell job. It just feels like a great value. I think that that's, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think that I can say that and know that I can put in the compassion and the care and all of that, because I'm telling them about what they can do to change their lives. And then that dollar amount is a great value for what they can do to change their lives. So
Right.
that actually makes a huge difference. Like, as I'm listening to you, that has changed my idea of like how to sell, because I really didn't know how to sell. But if it's just like that, I can do that. That's easy.
That's all it is.
That's
That
great.
really is
Oh my
all it
gosh,
is.
that's so helpful. So
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
I think I
I
can
think we
start
can,
selling.
like today is Saturday. Start on Monday. Like, for real.
That's right.
Because the other thing that people don't realize about this selling, they get all this ick, and they want to get into people's money situations and things like this, but you're like actually saving them money.
Yeah. I love the way that you put that. That is so helpful. I don't think I've ever heard that before, because everything felt like I just had to like put on a sales hat. And this doesn't feel like I'm putting on a sales hat. This just feels like I'm me. So it's
Yeah.
good.
And that's like ick-free sales, like, because you're just helping them make the best decision for themselves. And sometimes they'll be like, no, I'm not ready yet, and that's okay. And you let them
Mhm.
go on their way. Yeah. And so then the final thing I would say is you have all the benefits, you have the features, and then another part of it is putting together a framework for how you work with people within those 6 months so they can actually see, okay, I know the benefit to me. Well, what exactly are we, like, what are we going to do in that time? Some
So
people
it's like a
need that.
phase 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. Like, is that what you mean by?
It could, and I teach my clients a way to get all of their ideas out of their mind into a framework so it's easy to explain. So for what I do with people, it's marketing, it's sales, it's mindset through all of it, and it's strategy, right? So what we just talked about, you have one program, you have one price, we can predict all of that. And then there's the marketing of it. So now you're getting some ideas. Okay, we're the mindset of sales, you feel a lot better about that. I have no doubt that you could sell this thing, no problem. Then you might go out there and you start explaining it and you're like, oh, they didn't quite understand, or I just, whatever the case is. And we do the mindset work again. And we also evaluate, okay, well, what exactly happened? And that's why I asked you, what is happening when you're selling in your groups, right? Because we want to evaluate what we do so we can actually get better. And then the other part of it is sometimes, and I heard this a little bit when we were talking earlier, is the money piece. So now you feel better about the value of the program. You feel better about, oh, sales, I can do that. If that's what sales is, okay. And then somebody's going to inevitably say, I can't afford it. And then we need to talk about that. So it's like, it's layers. It's just a bunch of layers. So then for your program, like, what would you say are the 3 major components of your program?
So I think my program would be, there's like a manual, like kind of physical, like massage, like, retraining to how to receive touch. Cause a lot of these people in pain can't actually signal correctly, from their brain and body. So there's like a huge physical component. That's why they come and see me in office. So it's like reconnecting the brain and body. I guess that's one component. Okay.
Yep.
So that's like the brain exercises, the massage. The other component is strategies for daily living, right? So a lot of them have really, really messed up habits. Like there's no habits. It's just whatever the pain is doing to them. They're just all over the place. Today they can do a lot, and then they overdo, and then the next day they're just like lying on the couch, or for the next week they're lying on the couch, right? So it's like habit forming would be another stage. And then the last stage is really looking into some of their relationships, kind of like not in a counseling way, but I do it from a neuroscience approach. So they don't have to go back deep into those memories, but they do need to know how their trauma from their past might be linked to how they're physically feeling. So that's kind of actually my favorite part, is that kind of one-on-one coaching to help them to not be scared of their past and not be triggered from their past into kind of a painful episode and bringing it into their present. So that's
beautiful.
I guess
that's the program. That's the program. Done. That's what you focus. So that's the program. That's the framework for it. That's what you work on in phases 1, 2, 3, or however you mix it up. It's over 6 months, however many visits you said. You write down all of the things that they're having problems with, and you focus on that, right? And so when you talk to them about the benefits and how it's affecting their relationships and and then when you get to, okay, well, this is my framework and this is how we actually help you work on that. The only thing that I would say in what you described is the use of the word neuroscience. Not a problem talking to another PT or medical professional, but a lay person, meh, right? Because unless so you know how when we go to the doctor and they realize that we are using lingo that they know, so then they speak to us slightly differently. Okay, if you have somebody like that in front of you, but the lay person, you just want to use simple words, just simple
so
words.
Should I just say like reconnecting your brain and body, right? Like that would be.
Possibly.
Does that
So
help?
you look at,
Okay.
you say it enough times and you look at their face and their reaction. Do they kind of like glaze over? Do they understand?
Mm,
Do they really, you do enough of them. So it's one of those things, just like, and I use this example and they say we're not supposed to do pelvic tilts anymore, but this was the hardest thing for me to get people, we'll just say the transverse abdominis. Like it was one of the hardest things for me to get somebody to engage in the beginning,
mm-hmm.
because I just didn't have enough examples, or like you would say it and that didn't quite resonate. And so eventually you find your keywords or phrases to cue anybody to turn that on
Mm-hmm.
for you. And it's
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
thing. You just have to
Okay.
practice it enough.
Yeah. I think that you make a good point, because I have said neuroscience and some people are like, ooh, that makes her sound really smart. That's good. I'll go that route. And other people are like, that means nothing, just like you're saying. So you're right.
Yeah.
Like it's important for me to have a few ways of saying it. So that's helpful for them. Yeah. That's really
so
good.
all of these things are things that we work on together in detail. So you have a super high level view. I think you should be able to take this and run with it now. But if anything, like if you get stuck anywhere, you know where to find me. And then in the programs that I work, like we go deeper into like that exercise that I told you about, writing down all the things so you can actually put a dollar amount to it and you feel good, like, oh, I'm only charging you this. Right. And then when you say it's only whatever the dollar amount is, like you really feel that in your being. It's not just something that you said because somebody told you that in a sales training.
Right. No, that's really good. And so what are some of your programs? So you do one-on-one coaching, but then you have you mentioned that you have programs. So you're bringing like you're coaching groups kind of?
Yeah. So I have a hybrid right now because I created the program I wish I had. So it's a hybrid of one-on-one with strategy and mindset, because there's always going to be a strategy and then we're going to have thoughts about that strategy. I can't do it. Da, da, da. So we work on that. And then there's the accountability, right? So we do need to keep moving forward. So that's the group component. And I do things that way right now. And that's usually for a more advanced person like yourself. You've already done the entrepreneurial work. And I'm looking at revamping some part of a program for the newbie that doesn't know anything about business. I used to have a program called the Simple Startup that was to teach the basics of business. And so I love this part, what you and I are doing. Like you said, your favorite part is that last part. Like I love the strategy overlaid with the mindset. And so when I work with someone who already has the basics of business, then we can just go deep and fast. And now you can take this and run with it.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I might need accountability like that, because I think, and I don't know if other people struggle with it, it's if you're a clinician and you've been an expert at your field for a long time, but you're jumping into business. I've done some, like you said, legwork to like figure out the business part of it, but it's like the different skill level is like so far, right? Like I'm like baby, toddler, maybe at like the business aspect, but then I have all this like brain stuff that I'm a content expert in. But then sometimes it gets mixed up, right? Like sometimes you're kind of like, oh, I'm an expert in this. And then you're like, that failed in business completely, right? But then in PT, you don't really fail like that. You know, you just have a patient, maybe it doesn't work, next time you try again. But in business, it's so much bigger. And so I think I need accountability. And sometimes it is just kind of like a mindset because it seems scarier, but really it shouldn't be, right? Like I think it doesn't have to be. So I'm still learning a lot in how to, well, and I feel like I need to learn it so I can lead the team in it. And that's a little different too. So, so I would be interested in maybe joining this hybrid group that you're doing. I think I probably need it at this point. So
ready to take the leap. Awesome. Let me see if I can reconnect things without, hold on.